Welcome back. So we are picking up in the NazActs Bk, Book 2, Chapter 37. Before we get started, just a final note about some of the things I talked about in the last video. I mentioned this guy who's accusing me of practicing the very things that I speak against on here. And I've said before that, a lot of times these witches, when they come around, they'll joke about being a witch. It's their way of telling you in a way so that you're being told that they're a witch, but then you choose to be around them. You're putting yourself outside of God's protection, because now you're using your own free will to be friends with someone who you shouldn't, and so that puts you outside of God's protection. And so, like I said, this person was falsely accusing me of this thing. Notice I didn't joke around about it. I didn't joke and act like I am that thing that he's accusing me of. I'm pretty offended. I'm pretty ticked off about it, honestly, because I understand what a serious accusation that is. That's the equivalent of falsely accusing someone of murder, because murder carries a death penalty in civil law. In religious law, witchcraft carries the death penalty. And this person is accusing me of a capital crime, and I absolutely do not think it's funny. Now, these ladies that came against me over the last year, they call themselves witches. They said that they were witches. That's not me making that up. They said it. So it's not a false accusation. If somebody says they are something, and you say, hey, this person said that that's what they are, and the evidence indicates that's true, that's not false accusation. So yeah, and oddly enough, this person, when I mentioned we had this argument on the subject of the invasion on our southern border, this person's reaction was to block me and then go and start talking about me on his YouTube channel, which, again, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about effeminate men. He blocked me and he couldn't win the argument, so he blocked me, and then he's talking behind my back. It's the same thing with the witches. They couldn't confront me, so they went and were talking to my wife in this instance. But it's the way the adversary works. He sneaks around behind and talks, whispers about you to other people. So this individual making these accusations, he's using the same tactics that these witches would use. So if you are one of the people that listens to him, I'd be very wary of him, because if he's using the same tactics as the enemy does, then, connect the dots there. Anyway, but from this point forward, I'm just going to leave it, turn it over to God and let him take it from here. And he can, my father can deal with that. He can deal with the false accusations. So, we're up to NazActs, Book 2, Chapter 37. We'll go ahead and get started. Then Simon said, I admire indeed the quickness of your wit, yet I do not embrace the error of your faith. For you have wisely foreseen that you may be contradicted, and you have even politely confessed that for the assertion of these things countless thousands of words will be called forth. For no one agrees with the profession of your faith. In short, as to there being one God, and the world being his work, who can receive this doctrine? Neither, I think, any one of the Greeks, even if he be an idiot, and certainly no one of the philosophers, not even the rudest and most wretched of the Judeans, nor I myself, who am well acquainted with their law. Then Peter said, put aside the opinions of those who are not here, and tell us face to face what is your own. Then Simon said, I could speak what I truly know, but it wearies me, and I fear being cognizant that if I say something that is not agreeable to you, nor to these uninstructed multitudes whom you please, on account of your confusion, you will stop up your ears and flee, because there's nothing for you to say against these things. But the unreasoning populace will assent to you and embrace you as one teaching those things which are commonly received among them, and will curse me as professing things new and unheard of, and instilling my error into the minds of others. Then Peter, are not you making use of long preambles as you accused us of doing, because you have no truth to bring forward? For if you have, begin without circumlocution, if you have so much confidence. And if indeed what you say being displeasing to any one of the hearers, he will withdraw, and those who remain shall be compelled by your assertion to approve what is true. Begin therefore to expound what seems to you to be right. Then Simon said, I say that there are many gods, but that there is one incomprehensible and unknown to all, and he is the God of all these gods. Then Peter answered, This God whom you assert to be incomprehensible and unknown to all, can you prove his existence from the scriptures of the Judeans, which are held to be of authority, or from some others of which we are all ignorant, or from the Greek authors, or from your own writings? Certainly you are at liberty to speak from whatever writings you please, yet so that you first show that they are prophetic, for so their authority will be held without question. Then Simon said, I shall make use of assertions from the law of the Judeans only, for it is manifest to all who take interest in religion that this law is of universal authority, yet that everyone receives the understanding of this law according to his own judgment. For it has been so written by him who created the world, that the faith of things is made to depend on it. Whence, whether anyone wishes to bring forward truth, or anyone to bring forward falsehood, no assertion will be received without this law. Inasmuch, therefore, as my knowledge is most fully in accordance with the law, I rightly declare that there are many gods, of whom one is more eminent than the rest, and incomprehensible, even he who is God of gods. But that there are many gods, the law itself informs me. For in the first place it says in the passage where one in the figure of a serpent speaks to Eve, the first woman, On this day you eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall be as gods, that is, as those who made man. And after they have tasted of the tree, God himself testifies, saying to the rest of the gods, Behold, Adam has become one of us. Thus therefore it is manifest that there were many gods engaged in the making of man. Also, whereas at the first God said to the other gods, Let us make man after our image and likeness, also his saying, Let us drive him out, and again, Let us go down and confound their language. All these things indicate that there are many gods. But this also is written, You shall not curse the gods, nor curse the chief of your people. And again this writing, God alone led them, and there was no strange god with them, shows that there are many gods. There are also many other testimonies which might be adduced from the law, not only obscure but plain, by which it is taught that there are many gods. One of these was chosen by Lot, that he might be the God of the Judeans. But it is not of him I speak, but of the God who is also his God, whom even the Judeans themselves do not know. For he is not their God, but the God of those who know him. When Peter heard this, he answered, Do not fear, Simon, for behold, we have neither shut our ears nor fled. For it is up to us to demonstrate against your deceptive words by asserting that Yahweh alone is God, who is the creator of the heavens and the earth and all those who are called gods. He is the only God. If then I can show that there are no other new God, but only he, you will confess now that there is no greater error and crime than the one you have committed. Then Simon said, Why indeed? Though I should be unwilling to confess it, would not the hearers who stand by charge me with unwillingness to profess the things that are true? Listen then, says Peter, that you may know, first of all, that even if there are many gods, as you say, they are subject to the God of the Judeans, to whom no one is equal, that whom no one can be greater. For it is written that the prophet Moses thus spoke to the Judeans, Yahweh your God is the God of gods and the Lord of lords, the great God. Thus, although there are many that are called gods, yet he who is the God of the Judeans is alone called the God of gods. For not every one that is called God is necessarily a god. Indeed, even Moses is called a god to Pharaoh, and it is certain that he was a man, and judges were called gods. And it is evident that they were mortal. The idols also of the Gentiles are called gods, and we all know that they are not. But this has been inflicted as a punishment on the wicked, that because they would not acknowledge the true God, they should regard as God whatever form of image should occur to them. Because they refuse to receive the knowledge of Yahweh, who, as I said, is God of all. Therefore it is permitted to them to have as gods those who can do nothing for their worshippers. For what can either dead images or living creatures confer upon men, since the power of all things is with Yahweh? Indeed, God is applied in three ways, either because he whom is given is truly God, also one sent from the one who is truly, and for the honor of the sender, that his authority may be full, he is sent, is called by the name of him who sends. So in other words, this bolded part, when you see the angel of Yahweh being sent to give a message to Moses, even though it's the angel appearing, he is referred to as Yahweh in the Hebrew Scriptures. But the angel itself is not Yahweh. He's coming in the name of Yahweh. And that can be confusing to some. It was confusing to me when I first started reading the Scripture, and it took some time for me to understand what was going on there. As is often done in respect of angels, for when they appear to a man, he is a wise and intelligent man. He asks the name of him who appears to him, that he may acknowledge at once the honor of the sent and the authority of the sender. And therefore, constraining him a little before, he mentions that God above himself, and confesses him to be Yahweh, as he, the angel, is not God. Yahweh indeed enables a person to become anything granted to him, because he apportions him to guide the people given over to him. But he cannot say that he is God after questioning, for it is not permitted to one who truly is not him to testify this about himself. For the Most High God, who alone holds the power of all things, has divided the nations of the earth into 72 parts, and over these he has appointed angels as princes. But to the one among the archangels who is greatest was committed the government of those who, before all others, receive the worship and knowledge of the Most High God. But holy men also, as we have said, are made gods to the wicked, as having received the power of life and death over them, as we mentioned above with respect to Moses and the judges. Wherefore it is also written concerning them, you shall not curse the gods, and you shall not curse the prince of your people. Thus the princes of the several nations are called gods, but Messiah is God of princes, who is judge of all. Therefore neither the angels, nor men, nor any creature can be truly gods. For as much as they are placed under authority, being created and changeable, angels, for they are not, and are men, angels, for they are not, and are. Men, for they are mortal, and every creature, for it is capable of dissolution, if only he dissolve it who made it. And therefore he alone is the true God, who not only made himself live, but also bestows life upon others, which he can also take away when it pleases him. Wherefore the Scriptures exclaim in name of the God of the Judeans, saying, Behold, behold, seeing that I am God, there is none else. Besides me, I will kill, I will make alive, I will smite, and I will heal, and there is none who can deliver out of my hands. See therefore how, by some ineffable virtue, the Scriptures opposing the future errors of those who should affirm that either in heaven or on earth there is any other God besides him who is the God of the Judeans, decides thus, Yahweh your God is one God, in heaven above and on the earth beneath, and besides him there is none else. How then hast you dared to say that there is no other God besides him who is the God of the Judeans? How then have you dared to say that there is any God besides him who is the God of Judeans? And again the Scripture says, Behold, to Yahweh your God belong the heaven and the heaven of heavens, the earth, and things that are in them. Nevertheless I have chosen your fathers, that I might love them, and you after them. Thus in every way the Scripture gave warning that the one who created the world is alone truly God. Even those of their opinion, however, are in accordance with the word. Alright, I have got an errand I have to run, so I'm going to have to end the video here. I'm not sure how long we've been going, but we'll pick it up next time in, what is this, 44, chapter 44. Thank you for listening. Shalom.